Arizona Senator Kyrsten Sinema doesn't think that a provision in the COVID-19 relief bill about $15 minimum wage, federal minimum wage, belongs there. So she's joining also Joe Manchin as being the second Democratic senator that is against the $15 minimum wage that has been debated, because she doesn't think it belongs in this particular relief package. In fact, this type of legislation belongs in a different kind of debate. So let's go to Politico's story on this. And it quotes Sinema saying, "What's important is whether or not it's directly related to short-term COVID relief. And if it's not, then I'm not going to support it in this legislation. The minimum wage provision is not appropriate for the reconciliation process. It is not a budget item and it shouldn't be in there." Let's start with that. Is it a budget item, and does it not belong in a reconciliation process in this particular case? Because $15 minimum wage is definitely not helpful to people that are suffering during COVID-19.
I'm chomping on the bit for this one because this is my wheelhouse as somebody who's worked in the Committee of Urban Affairs and worked policy. And let me just say that this was totally refuted. There was a CBO score. This is a very technical thing. There's something known as the Byrd Rule, which was passed in the late 70s into the Reagan administration, which says that you can't put extraneous items into reconciliation bills. And an extraneous item is something that doesn't have budget impact. The CBO just ruled that the minimum wage increase would have a significant budget impact. It's funny because it was conservatives kind of self-owning. The person that's head of the CBO is somebody who used to work for the American Enterprise Institute, was put in during the Trump administration, is not a good faith neutral arbiter. He's a right winger who was trying to argue that the $15 minimum wage would hurt the economy and lower, it would cost 1.4 million jobs, even though the economists worldwide now agree that that would not happen. There would be no adverse job effect. And he said it would cost around 50 billion, I believe was the number, to the federal budget. Please fact check me on that. And so Bernie Sanders recently tweeted, well, there you go. That's budget impact. We disagree with it, but the CBO has ruled budget impact. There's no way you can raise the Byrd Rule objection. That's that. It's gonna be part of the stimulus bill. And it's already passed through the House. It includes a $15 minimum wage. And my opinion on the politics is this is something supported by over 60% of Americans. Beg them to vote no. Put it in the bill, bring it to the floor and say, you're gonna vote against these checks? You're gonna vote against a bill that has 68% approval? Do it, show us. And the thing is, when the shoe's on the other foot and it's a Republican bill with a bunch of stuff we hate, somehow they can find the wherewithal to vote for it for the greater good. So they may not like it, but as far as the technical rule with the Byrd Rule and all these other elements, too bad, so sad, vote for it.
Yeah, so first, let me dive in on the technical stuff that Mike mentioned, and then I'm gonna give you the more important big picture look here. So Mike was right, it's $54 billion that the CBO said it would cost the budget and add to the deficit. Bernie Sanders is right. Any budget impact, it doesn't matter if it's negative or positive, means that it passes the Byrd Rule and can be in reconciliation. So Manchin and Sinema are wrong, and it's not disputable. It's a stone cold fact. Now, Mike is also right. The guy's conservative. Reputable economists who looked at this said that it would actually help the deficit, that it by $65 billion, right? Because people have more money because they're making a higher minimum wage. They need less government assistance, so the deficit goes down, not up. There are other factors, but that's a giant one. Okay,
and these are things that can be. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and just one more fact that Mike mentioned: overwhelming majority of the country agrees to higher minimum wage. By the way, huge majorities in red states agree to minimum wage increases, including majorities of Republicans. But if you're just looking at Democratic voters, and Sinema and Manchin are theoretically Democrats and should care about their base, 86% of Democrats want a higher minimum wage. But as Mike mentioned earlier in the show, and this is something we say on TYT often, the Republicans fear their base and the Democrats hate their base. And so that's why Sinema and Manchin act that way.
It's all based on the way that you want to go ahead and pose this. Okay, so again, how much is it brought up that many of the people that work these minimum wage jobs are their income is the only way it exists to an extent to even barely pay what they can pay, even though they're in extreme debt, is because of government help. So if you don't want government to help people, this is a Republican argument. There's a way you can pose this and be like, hey, Republicans who want to be fiscally responsible with our government money, with your taxpayer money, and you talk about welfare queens and all these triggering terms that you use as a dog whistle to make sure that your constituents and your voters don't like the people that they think are sucking on the government teat in order to make it through in life. You can use that same argument. It's like, hey, you guys, we want to get people off of government assistance. Do you agree with me? Make sure that they're all on board first. You agree with me? Let's get people off of government assistance. Hey, this study tells us it will get people off of government assistance because that's the reality. Because if you add up numbers, it ends up seeing the obvious bottom line is that we're saving money because people have it now rather than barely giving them anything, working them until they're dead. And we move on to the next one. But we don't care about citizens. What we're caring about is, oh, it's me though. Hey, they're taking my job. They start pitting people against each other. McDonald's workers versus Walmart workers. Hey, well, those guys over there are getting government assistance while you're at home filling out the government assistance form because you need it too. But no one says that. There's no difference between the way Walmart pays their folks and McDonald's. I'm sure there's some here and there because there's different franchises and all that stuff. But there's many people who are struggling and work multiple jobs and have a family, have kids, and trying to figure out how to make ends meet. But none of that is ever brought up. It's just, hey, they're trying to take from the government. When in reality, how much money, we go back to the Ramsey stuff we talked about earlier. How much money are we giving to corporations? And he's talking about how $1,400 is so nothing to give to the American people. Hey, is $15 nothing per hour to give to the American people? Maybe they'll work harder. Maybe they'll work the kinds of jobs and maybe retain those things. And we don't have turnover with jobs. We're about job numbers all the time. We go through all these things that Republicans say that they care about, and the answer is right there. Every time they bring up something and the answer is pay people more, say, hey, how about we pay people more? Because that is always the answer.
Yeah,
so I have so much to say about this.
Yeah, let me back up what Jayar is saying with numbers too, and then I want to get to the big picture. So if we increase the minimum wage to $15 an hour, it would affect 32 million Americans, and it would get them $92 billion extra per year, which leads to the big picture. So I told you guys ahead of time, if you watched the Young Turks, you knew it was going to happen, that the Democrats were not going to put minimum wage in this bill. I said it before anyone did anything about it, right? And people said I was crazy. The mainstream media all dutifully reported Democrats love increasing the minimum wage. They're going to put it in the bill, and the Democrats were like, "How dare you? How outrageous, Cenk, to say that they're not going to do it?" Right? Well, how did I know they weren't going to do it? Well, it's because corporate Democrats like Sinema and Manchin report to their donors. They don't care about the people of Arizona or West Virginia. That's not who got them elected. Their donors bought all the ads in those markets. Their donors gave them everything they've ever had. And their donors are corporations. And they view it as either I have the $92 billion or the workers have the $92 billion. Manchin and Sinema, what the hell did you think I bought you for? No, go kill the minimum wage. We're not going to have it. So what happened over the last week? Even though the House put it in, Nancy Pelosi knows that the Senate's going to kill it. She never meant a word of it. And then Biden came out in an interview and said, look, in one area of compromises, we could take out the $15 minimum wage. He was always going to do that. I told you ahead of time he was going to do it, and then he did do it. And so that was him saying to the parliamentarian, it's okay if you take it out, wink, wink, right? And even if you don't, and now they're worried that the parliamentarian can't take it out because Bernie Sanders is correct, and so they're cornered. So now they unleash Sinema and Manchin to say, well, we're going to kill it anyway, because otherwise we'll vote no. Because they're corporate stooges. And by the way, this is what the #1 problem with mainstream media is. If you listen to them, you will never get this analysis, because they find it outrageous to say that politicians work for their donors because they get millions of dollars from them. For everyone else, that's the most obvious point I've ever made. And that's why they keep wondering, Cenk, why do you keep making that point? Watch mainstream media. They never, ever tell you what actually drives politicians.
Might go.
Yeah, I think the funny thing about the minimum wage is like, there really is no argument against it. The McDonald's CEO just came out in an investor call and he said, yeah, $50 minimum wage is fine. It wouldn't hurt us at all. Every state that we already have a $50 minimum wage, because remember, there are multiple states that have passed minimum wage increases already. They have not seen any job losses. They've just seen more income for the bottom. And so you have something that can unite Republicans, independents, Democrats. The CEO of McDonald's says it's not a big deal. It would help millions of people, would raise millions of people out of poverty, give raises for 30+ million people. There's really no argument against it. That's rooted in reality, political reality. It would not be unpopular for any of these people in their districts. It would be a huge win for the Democrats and even for these candidates. What's really funny to me about Kyrsten Sinema is there's another Democrat who just won in 2020 in that same state, and he doesn't seem to be objecting to it right now. So there's really no argument to be made other than what Cenk is saying. Are they ruled by their donors? Does anyone think the people of West Virginia, one of the poorest states, if not the poorest in the country, are arguing against a $15 minimum wage? They're absolutely not. There is no basis politically, economically to oppose the $15 minimum wage. And the one thing that I'm gonna disagree with you, Cenk, is Bernie Sanders is now the Senate Budget Committee chair. The Progressive Caucus has grown in strength. They're consolidating power. It's led by people like Ilhan Omar and Katie Porter, and they're gonna throw their weight around. And I'm gonna give them strength. I'm as cynical as you about Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, but I think that we need to exercise our power. We need to. It's now or never. What we can get in these next 2 years is going to be huge. I'm 36 years old, and since I've been alive, the Democrats have controlled the House, the Senate, and the White House for a total of 4 years. So these next 2 years are absolutely vital for us getting any progress, and it's up to us to not accept anything less the big changes across the board.
My last thought on this real fast, Cenk, real fast. My last thought is, do you remember when Manchin kind of got strong-armed by the administration, Biden's administration, with Kamala Harris going to this backyard, going on his local news station and saying, hey, do you understand what's going on with West Virginia? You guys rank here with your small business. You rank here with your unemployment. You rank here with your income. You rank here with everywhere. And basically told them, hey, so this guy who represents you, all this talk about how you don't need anything else and how you don't want anything else, do you believe him? And he's like, I can't believe you did that to me. So now here comes the test. They were expecting Joe Manchin to be that guy. Did they expect Kyrsten Sinema to be that second person that's gonna do this? And will they then go to her backyard, proverbially, not necessarily go and do the same thing, but are they gonna go to her backyard and say, hey, Arizona, do you support what she's talking about for real? Is she really saying what you think? And so this is their test to go ahead and confirm that they're really on board for something like this, or if they're just saying it hoping that it kind of won't get much pushback from anyone. It's getting pushback. Are you gonna push back again?
Yeah, so I want to clarify a couple of things. First of all, I don't want anybody to misunderstand me. Are we gonna fight on minimum wage? Hell yes. Are we gonna win on raising the minimum wage? Hell yes. But let me explain how we're gonna win, okay? And I'll answer Jayar's question here. Yes, they not only expect the Sinema to do it, and by the way, Kamala Harris, to be fair to her and the Biden administration, also went to Arizona. So they already did do it to pressure Sinema. But they're pressuring them on the overall COVID relief bill. They are not pressuring them on the minimum wage. So I want you to understand what I'm cynical about and what I'm not. It's not gonna get into this bill. I would be shocked, okay? Now, Mike is right. Bernie's got power now. Progressives have power now in the House. So it'll be more of a fight than it was before. But I know Joe Biden. Joe Biden desperately wants to compromise and never believed in this in the first place. They're gonna jettison it. And they're looking for an excuse. They're like, oh, parliamentarian. No, that didn't work. Manchin, that didn't work. Sinema, they're gonna find every excuse to keep it out of this bill. So now, and by the way, there was a poll in West Virginia, so it's not in dispute. Huge majority of the people of West Virginia want a higher minimum wage. So if Joe Manchin is saying otherwise, he's a proven liar. The majority of his donors don't want a higher minimum wage, which I want to explain that as well. So now, and this is how you actually get a higher minimum wage. So now McDonald's is saying that they don't agree with the other corporations. They think $15 minimum wage is okay. Why? Because that socialist Bernie Sanders put a world of pressure on him. Now when he was running for president twice, they said, oh, socialist, he's gonna shoot people in Central Park. No, wait a minute, he has a 50-year career in politics. So we already know what Bernie Sanders is gonna do. He just did it. So he did it not just now, but during the Trump years. He put pressure on companies like McDonald's, but first he started with Amazon. And he said, $15 minimum wage, $15 minimum wage. And you know what happened? He broke Amazon. Amazon, among the most evil corporations in terms of taking away voter rights, bowed down to Bernie Sanders and increased the minimum wage to $15. You know what they did afterwards? Since they already had the higher costs, they then turned around in their great might and put pressure on other companies, i.e. their competition, to increase the wages to $15. That's the genius of progressive politics and Bernie Sanders. And one of those companies was McDonald's. Now McDonald's is about to break and go to $15. So now McDonald's is turning around to all other corporations and going, you should raise the minimum wage too. So that's actually how you get practical change. And the only ones who ever delivered for you are progressives. So which leads us to the last portion of this. So once we, in my opinion, I hope I'm wrong, of course, lose on this, on the COVID relief bill, and then I am super happy, and it's not a happy thing or an unhappy thing, it must happen. They must introduce it as a standalone bill. And now the good news here is, will progressives in the House do it? Absolutely. Will Bernie do it in the Senate? Absolutely, right? And when it comes across as a standalone bill, that's when there is no force on earth that'll stop us from raising that minimum wage. We will fight and we'll put everything on the line. I'll ask for your help in doing that. We'll get volunteers, we'll get people into the Senate. I don't care how many walls and moats and things that they put up. We won't be like the right wing. We'll do it the right way. We'll create, in the words of the civil rights movement, good trouble, okay? Not bad trouble like the right wing does, but good trouble. And there's no way we're gonna let corporate Democrats beat us on this. And I'll tell you last thing on it, guys, not just because it's gonna get you guys $92 billion and you deserve it, you work your ass off for it. You're not, the Republicans are the worst people on earth. You're not bums, you're working for it. You're working for it, and you've been incredibly productive and you deserve it, right? But also because of the politics. If you told everybody that you were definitely gonna deliver higher wages and you were definitely gonna increase the minimum wage, and then you don't do it, well, of course they're not gonna vote for you in 22 or 24. The donors drive Democrats to do the worst political maneuvers in history. That is why they keep losing when they have overwhelming advantages on the issues. Mississippi passed a higher minimum wage on a ballot measure. Yeah. If you're a Democratic president and you can't get that done nationally, you are the worst politician in American history, and you should be treated as such.
I mean, Cenk, like Obama never passed a minimum wage increase. The last minimum wage increase was passed by George W. Bush. So, I mean, the Democratic Party has a pretty bad track record of fighting for an issue as popular as this.
No, but Mike, that's exactly right. That's why what I'm trying to tell people, and honestly, even good progressives in Congress don't get it. They keep thinking that Pelosi and Schumer and Biden are on their side. They've never shown that they're on your side. You have to defeat them to get the minimum wage higher. You have to defeat them. Oh no, don't worry, Pelosi will give it to us later. No, she won't. She's on the other side, you schmucks. Okay, so she had a super majority. To Mike's point, she had a super majority during the Obama years. And Obama had 8 years to push for a higher minimum wage. Corporate Democrats work for corporations. They're not on your side. You can't pass bills with their help. You have to pass bills despite their fight against you. So progressives, let's go up and at them and understand who your opponents are. It's not just Republicans, it's also your so-called goddamn colleagues who are actually undercutting you and defeating all of our policy priorities.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, Jayar. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.